ॐ प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। We began the 12th chapter a couple of classes ago, and the whole discussion on practically bhakti and jnana. In technical terms, it was an issue between adoring Saguna Brahma or Saguna Ishvara and constant contemplation upon Nirguna Brahma or Nirguna Ishvara. We saw the second verse where Bhagavan Sri Krishna clearly seems to favor those who adopt the Bhakti Marga. No wonder the chapter is titled Bhakti Yoga. For Lord Sri Krishna says, with a reference to the Vishwarupa Darshana he had shown in the immediate previous chapter, namely 11th chapter, and Vishwarupa is certainly of God with numerous sadgunas, good qualities, good attributes, as well as a magnificent akara or form. Therefore, he praised those upasakas who fix their heart totally in God with certain form and with all those divine qualities and wholeheartedly adore God. So the verse 2 which we read and also saw some comments by Sri Shankaracharya went in this way. Let me read the second shloka once more. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Veshya Mano Yema Nitya Ukta Upasate Shraddhaya Paraya Parayopetaha Te me Yuktatama Mataha. Yuktatamaha means best connected. They are best positioned. They are indeed better off, so to say. Te me yuktatamaha mataha. And Shankaracharya explained it. Last sentence was Nairantaryena hite machittataya ahoratrani ativahayanti. Day and night with their heart being devoted to Lord in certain form. Vishwarupa or Sri Krishna or Sri Rama or Shiva. That is the implication. Those who look at God personified as a divine person who will take full care of them, and with total faith they remember God even as they are engaged in various activities. Now, in the next verse, the question arises. The Upanishads have talked about Nirguna Nirakara, and the reference is to the same highest truth, same God, who is probably by a much larger number adored with form, but he is in fact in his purest form, without qualities. Shankaracharya connects us to the third verse. Kim itare yuktatamaha na bhavanti? Are they not well connected at all then? Do they have some serious defect? Is there some problem with their path? Acharya Shankara answers it on behalf of Sri Krishna. No, it's not so. We don't put them down in any manner. However, there is a point to be noted. Na, and then kim tu tan prati yad vaktavyam tat shrinu. Listen to me. Why I seemed to favor the bhakti margis. And in third and fourth verse, in two shlokas, Bhagavan Sri Krishna talks about Nirguna Nirakara Upasana, which is the path of the Upanishads, where one deeply understands the falsity of Jiva Bhava, falsity of one's own identity as the body-mind complex, and therefore, with tremendous detachment, dispassion, with tremendous amount of distaste for the goals of the world, worldly pleasures and so on, there are a smaller number of people typically in the world who adore God as all-inclusive, all-pervasive, changeless reality about whom no words can be spoken. Therefore, we see third and fourth now, Sri Krishna's words, Ye tvaksharamanirdesyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatragam achintyancha ऊटस्थमचलं ध्रुवम् सन्नियम्येन्द्रियग्रामं सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः. ये tu, the word tu is to indicate a change of topic. In the second verse, the topic was about Saguna Sakara Upasakas. In the third and fourth, the topic changes. It is about Upasana of Nirguna Nirakara Ishvara, the Supreme Reality. Aksharam, that which never reduces. Anirdeshyam, that which cannot be described, however much you may try. You cannot describe that truth in words. Avyaktam, it is not available for senses or the mind to see and identify. Yetu evam paryupasate, and moreover that reality is sarvatragam. It's present everywhere. It goes everywhere. Achintyam, unthinkable. Kutastam, it is right in the midst of Maya. This entire universe is Maya of questionable nature. It's not what it seems to be. We get carried away by the charm, the glamour, the pleasure of this world. But the world is, for a little of pleasure, a lot of pain. And the world or the universe ultimately is simply false. Being false, it deceives us. No wonder. Avyaktam paryupasate kutastam. Kuta here is Maya. Another meaning we'll see when we look at the Bhashya. Kutastam achalam dhruvam. Unmoving and permanent. Eternal. Dhruvam means Ashwatam. Sanniyamya indriya gramam. Those who are devoted to the path of the Upanishads require a greater self-control than what the devotees are required to have. One reference could be how devotees, as they are into a lot of puja, japa, upasana of some form of rituals, etc., typically offer varieties of food and other entertainment to God. There is a whole lot of engagement with the senses. Even when you decorate Sri Krishna with beautiful dress, Sri Krishna surely is happy. You also are happy. Ah, how nice. What a beautiful cloth it is. And so on. The Alankara, the music, the wonderful Naivedya, which later becomes Prasad, and typically good amount of other devotees coming, socializing, other devotees interacting with you. So there is quite a bit of involvement in the world, involvement in names and forms. And typically the Jnana Marga is marked by one keeping away from society, typically, though some amount of involvement, some studying with others and observing some festivals, etc., is generally taken up by Jnana Margis too. For Jnana Marga typically accommodates a little bit of bhakti. Most Jnana Margis have an Ishta Devata. Most Jnana Margis do celebrate Guru Purnima and such functions. But otherwise, in its purest form or in its advanced forms, in its forms where one is very intensely devoted to the study of Upanishads, you find that the Jnana Margis are characterized by a lot of self-control. So, Sanniyamya Indriya Gramam Sarvatra Samabuddhayaha, maintaining equal vision towards all. Te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite rataha. Engaged in the well-being of all living beings. Bhuta can mean even animals and plants and so on. They are walking a hard path and there is no two opinions. They also, te prapnuvanti mameva. They too reach me. They too reach the same goal that I mentioned about the Saguna Sakara Upasakas. Thus, both of them technically are on par, but in the world, as vast number of people do have body identification, they do not have that high vairagya as these Akshara Upasakas. For them, Bhakti Marga is more suited. It is a matter of their adhikara or their mindset. Sri Krishna keeps the majority of people in mind while making that comment, which he especially did in the second verse, calling them Yukta Tamaha in the first place. But about Akshara Upasakas also he says they are sure to reach the same goal. Let's take the help of Sri Shankaracharya in understanding this approval and endorsement of the second path, of the second approach also. Bhashyakara says, Ye tu aksharamanirdesyam. Those two are the words from the shloka. Therefore, it is referring to the exact shloka. So let's take up the shloka, starting with the words aksharam and anirdesyam, and then the word is taken avyaktatvat ashabda gocharam iti na nirdeshtum shakyate, because it is unmanifest, because vyakta means manifest, avyakta, unmanifest. It never becomes, as Bhashyakara himself says, perceivable to us in the form of shabda, sparsha, etc. Ashabda gocharam iti. And Shankaracharya connects the expression avyakta to the word anirdeshya, which comes before. Aksharam, anirdeshyam, avyaktam. So at times, a latter word would throw more light on the word that comes before. Anirdeshya. Why is it anirdeshya? Because it is avyakta. Once it is visible to us through eyes or audible to us through ears, we can then describe it. But no one has seen the akshara, no one has touched, no one has, of course, smelled. Therefore, how do you describe it? How do you? In fact, even these words, anirdeshya, avyakta, akshara, are all negational. Avyakta, anirdeshya, akshara. So, means not, not, not. Therefore, though it seems, and some of you may say, why do you say it is not describable? All these words are describing that highest truth. Akshara, nirdesha, avyakta, achintya, and so on. We say it is in a way description, but scratch the surface. It is more saying what this Akshara Brahma is not. So higher you go, you have to employ the method of negation. Therefore, a number of high plateau spiritual teachers ask us again and again to dismiss, to negate, to see the false and let that false go. Let it go. Thus, negation is the language when you get closer to the highest reality. But a couple of notches below, you describe, for example, even color. Shama Varna for Rama and Krishna, we say dark blue complexion and so on. And Pitambara, Sri Krishna is often described as wearing yellow clothes. Therefore, color and smell or form, taste, touch, all of them get into the picture when you come one notch or two notches below and personify God. But one notch and two notches go above, and that reality, of course, is avyaktam, anirdeshyam, and Shankara further takes up now the word paryupasate. But before that, he says avyaktam means kenapi pramanena na vyajyate. The word vyakta has the verbal root aj. So V plus aj, vyaj, that becomes vyakta. So vyakta means express, expressed. Vyajyate is expressed. Na kenapi prameya pramanena vyajyate iti avyaktam. Paryupasate means what? The upasarga pari has a meaning from all directions, from all angles of view. Kayena vacha manasa, or in all, through all the indriyas, in all possible ways. That is the meaning. Shankaracharya in his Bhāshya here comes out with a beautiful short definition for upasana. What is upasana? Upasanam nama yata shastram upasyasya arthasya vishayikaranena samipyam upagamya tailadharavat samana, he says, samana pratyaya pravahena dirgha kalam yad asanam tad upasanam uchyate. So, upasana is made of two parts, upa and asana. Upa means samipyam upagamya. Upa means near. Our mind is far away in some materialistic objectives, materialistic thoughts. Withdrawing that mind from those objects of the world, the mind has to be brought closer, nearer God. Samipyam upagamya. And getting near God, how is it to be done? Shankaracharya is the custodian of Sanatana Dharma in its purest form. He doesn't encourage some fanciful visualization of God. He is not in support of the so-called liberal approaches. The problem with a lot of so-called liberal people is pretty soon they lose their direction, they get distracted, and if you go close to them, they actually are seen to be pulled back by a number of materialistic pursuits. Therefore, generally, seekers are cautious. Certain liberal interpretations of spiritual texts, certain liberal ways of living, certain liberal ways of talking, of dressing, and so on, technically are not wrong, but typically there is a great risk for one person who goes liberal and succeeds in a spiritual journey. There will be 100 who, because they went liberal, they lost sight of the truth, lost sight of their goal, and they may turn around and come back, but it may cause loss of time. So let's not go more into this discussion between liberal and conservative approaches. In the media, in today's world, in radio, television, newspapers, magazines, etc., the liberal forms are generally very much propagated. For most of these writers and journalists and people of general knowledge, their general knowledge is very impressive. But typically, 99 out of 100 people who have a lot of general knowledge, lot of intellectual abilities, they fall a prey to the pitfalls that are available, that are seen in liberal ways. Now, there are problems with conservative people too. That way, wherever you go, there are problems and there are merits. In the case of conservative people, we say they are like horses with blinds on both sides. They don't see more than what they are studying in their books, what their teacher is saying, and many a time they are actually, unfortunately, they are prejudiced against the slightest breaking of any convention, the slightest compromise with some custom, with some age-old custom, however meritorious it may be. In other words, in social criteria. For example, some Swamiji of an Orthodox mutt went to a Harijan colony and visited Harijan scheduled caste, lower caste houses. He probably took a fruit or took a something from nature, maybe a tulsi leaf or something. A very orthodox old mutt. And that Swami perhaps did not go very far. It's not that he hugged those scheduled caste people or women or any such thing. He conducted himself in a very dignified manner. But it's true that he went and went very close to all of them, entered their houses and so on. I'll not name the mutt, one of the very old mutts which has been around for many hundreds of years. Now, almost 50% of the devotees did not like it. Some of them were so open in their criticism. They said, this present Swami is breaking the rules, and so many of his predecessors for all these centuries took great pains to keep a certain order. They followed the rules and they did not simply go out tangentially. It is with great pains that this ashram has been maintained in a certain way, some decor, some dignity, some rules. Their own personal opinion should not dilute customs which have come down over centuries. That was their argument. But the liberal camp said, sirs, times have changed and we should no more support all these divisions. We should be equal. The Swami should be equal to all, and they applauded. So, in 100 issues, there is always a liberal approach and there is a conservative approach. So, Shankaracharya, in the 8th century probably, he took upon himself laying down some customs and I guess to a great extent preserving various good customs. If you understand the customs, which is not easy these days, you wonder why such a custom is there at all, in especially older mutts. But if you understand, if you give, due consideration, there is a good chance that you may say, "Oh, now I understand. Now I know why it is important. Why old mutts have certain strict rules in various issues, not just social equality and so on, in various issues. There is, if you give the necessary time, your opinion may change. Let me not go more into those examples of various kinds. So, why all this came is, Shankaracharya says, do upasana yatha shastra. In a humorous context, somebody wanted to do mantra japa. The Guru gave him the mantra, Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. But by the time he went home, he wondered, why should I take some old mantra? After all, a mantra is to help our mind to concentrate. So he went home, changed the mantra on his own, and he sat with eyes closed and repeated Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. So this is Shastra Viruddham. The Guru gave him Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, and this man on his own changed it to Coca-Cola. So he only knew one side, one part of the mantra japa. It is to make the mind stay in one direction, to develop concentration. So, apart from those humorous examples, there are very many examples of a wide spectrum. Therefore, conventional or conservative approaches and liberal approaches are often at loggerheads in this world. Somebody once said, who was that? Uh, yeah, a maths professor of Indian origin in England. I think his name is J. Lakhani. He has done a lot of work for Hinduism. A Gujarati gentleman, now pretty old. He released several hundreds of videos on Hindu customs. And at some place he says, the liberal people say birth should be a no consideration for Varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, and so on. This is not my opinion. I'm telling J. Lakhani's opinion. J. Lakhani then says, if around the world there are all these liberal people, who say birth should not be a criterion at all. Then here in England, he lived in England, he speaks in England, this J. Lakhani. Here in England, today itself, they should abolish the succession in the Birmingham Palace, in the royal family. There, it is by birth. It's not democracy. It is not by other criteria. And like that in so many countries, in Japan also, I guess, there is a royal throne. The next king or the next queen is by birth and lot of conditions, and it is not by who is competent, who has the administrative abilities, and so on. So, just to give you an example, this Yatha Shastram can be a hornet's nest. That is, if you go into it, a lot of people may not like this expression, Yatha Shastram, and lot others may highly support it. So let's go more into what is Upasana. This Yatha Shastram as per scriptural directions or otherwise is a different issue. Yatha Shastram Upasyasya Arthasya Vishayikaranena. If you are a Shiva Upasaka, you are Upasaka, Shiva is Upasya. If you are worshipping Devi, let us say, Devi Kamakshi of Kanchi, Kanchi Kamakshi, Madurai Meenakshi, Kashi Vishalakshi, and many more, Devi Chamundeshwari in Mysore, Lalitambika in some ashrams, in some temples, whatever. You worship Lalitambika. Lalitambika is Upasya, one who is worshipped, and you are the Upasaka. So whatever you are worshipping should be made your object, Vishayikaranena, then Samipyam Gatva, Upagamya. And then it is your duty to have thoughts of the same kind, thoughts of the same nature. Don't think three thoughts about Shiva and the fourth thought is about some man with the same name. Shiv Nadar built HCL. Now he has built a university also, SN University, Shiv Nadar. So from Paramashiva, your mind went to Shiv Nadar, the founder of Hindustan Computers Limited, a big Indian computer manufacturing company, both into hardware and software, as you know. So from Shiva, you go to a mortal called Shiva. Then there is no Taila Dhara. Taila Dhara, when you pour oil from, let us say, a can to maybe a lamp, it flows in such a way, it looks like a steady beam. You don't even know sometimes whether it is flowing. Of course, it is flowing, but there is no discontinuity. And that continuous flow of the same kind of thoughts is Tailadharavat. Samana Pratyaya Pravahena. That is what we meant. Samana Pratyaya, same thoughts or same kind of thoughts. One moment you may think of Shiva as seated. Next moment you may see him in your mental eyes as standing. One moment he is alone. Another moment he is with Parvati, Ganesha, Kartikeya, and so on. That is all right. That is all Samana Pratyaya. But in Upasana, if you meditate on Shiva, you cannot go to dissimilar thoughts. One moment Shiva, another moment Vishnu, third moment some Guru. No, that is not allowed. Samana Pratyaya Pravahena Dirgha Kalam. Now Upasanam has the word asana. Shankaracharya brings it. Dirgha Kalam Yad Asanam tad upasanam achakshate. This is a beautiful definition. All those who do japa and meditation should refer to this, should remember this definition again and again. Otherwise, knowingly or unknowingly, you take liberties with the japa, you modify it as per your fancy, you go haywire, and finally, hardly anything good remains in your japa. It becomes more a mechanical, what they call, going through the motions. You go through the motions, but not reaching anywhere. So that is the definition. All through Shankara's commentary in Gita, for that matter in Upanishads on Brahma Sutra and so on, you find wonderful definitions of various spiritual concepts. So, drawn from Shankaracharya, many scholars have done this job. They have brought out books of Shankara's definitions of technical words. Paribhashika Shabda Kosha. Paribhashika Shabda is the specific jargon of the Vedanta Shastra in this context. Now he takes Akshara. Aksharasya Visheshanamaha Upasyasya Sarvatragam. Akshara came right in the beginning. Now the word picked up is Sarvatragam. Vyomavat Vyapi. Sarvatra Gacchati iti Sarvatragaha. Vyomavat, like space. So Brahma, this Nirguna Brahma, though I gave the example of Shiva and Vishnu and Devi, in this shloka, the upasana is of that truth which is all pervasive, which doesn't permit any form or name. Achintyam cha avyaktat achintyam. Because it is unmanifest, nobody knows its form or color or other parameters. How can you think about it? Achintyam. Yadhi karana gocharam tad manasa api chintyam. Tad manasa api chintyam. You think about only those things which your eyes have seen. You may say, other day I was thinking about the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I have never been to Pisa. I have not seen with my eyes. But from childhood you have seen so many pictures. And today, sitting right in your home in some village of India, let us say, you may see beautiful, better than real videos of wonders of the world, of magnificent structures. You see Eiffel Tower or Leaning Tower of Pisa. You see things of Africa and Australia. You see things even in outer space because of first-class pictures, artistic representations available in the media. And therefore, you may think about them. But suppose no media, no newspaper, no television, nothing brought to you pictures of something, then can you think about it at all? It's simply impossible. Shankaracharya says, Yat hi karana gocharam tat manasa api chintyam. Tad viparitatvat achintyam aksharam. So, akshara is achintya, unthinkable. Now comes the word kutastha. Kutastha means drishyamana gunam antardosham vastu kutam. Kutarupam, kutasakshyam ityadau kutasabdaha prasiddho loke. Tatacha avidya adi aneka sansara bijam antardoshavat. That which has certain inner defects. It is also called Maya. It's called Vyakrita. Ityadi Shabda Vachyataya. And once he brought the word Maya, Shankara refers to Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Mayam tu prakritim vidyat, Mayinam tu maheshwaram. Prakriti, entire universe made of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, is Maya. And God is the master of Maya. Gita in 7th chapter had said, we had seen it. Mama maya duratyaya. Devi hesha gunamayi. Mama maya duratyaya. Mameva ye prapadyante. Maya metam tarantite. There was a shloka, 14th shloka in 7th chapter. So one is kuta means deceit. Kuta means falsehood. But where the false is, where deceit is, with your eye opening, thanks to Mahavakya Vichara, right there you will see the truth. Like it is said, where can you see this rope? Exactly where you are seeing the snake so far. Therefore, where there is Maya, there only Brahma is. Tasmin kute sthitam kutastam tadadyakshataya. The rope is the adyaksha, presiding factor for a snake to appear, for a crack in the earth to appear, for a garland thrown by the roadside to appear. So for 100 false appearances, the presiding factor, the adhisthana, the substrate, is the truth. Second meaning Shankaracharya gives is Hatava Rashihi Vastutam Kutastam. So one meaning of Kuta is Rashi, a heap. So when there is a heap, there has been a heap somewhere for a long time. Everybody says, look at that solid heap of something. And it is over there, it's not moving. So Kutastam, Achalam, Dhruvam, Nityam. So this is a second meaning of Kuta. So Sri Krishna is very kind and he in fact thus approves Nirguna Marga also. However, in the next shloka, he goes on to say, the hardship that one has to go through when one takes Akshara Upasana are much more than in the Bhakti Marga. We read the shloka for this class. Kleshodhikatarastesham avyaktasakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhiravapyate. Kleshaha adhikataraha. Bhakti Marga also has klesha, hardships. And Jnana Marga has more of it. And why is it more difficult? We shall examine in the next class. For now, we conclude this particular session. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.